And that is something that I appreciated about it. It was very non-judgmental overall. Yes. You know, like there was no morality around it. There was no, you know, like this is how bad people behave and this is how good people behave. It was literally just a fictionalized, inflated or heightened version of things that she has experienced, to my surprise. Yes. I was like, girl, you've been through this?
Yeah.
Nettie, you okay? I literally had to look her up. I needed all types of stuff because I'm like, wait, what do you mean that this was your life?
Yeah.
Girl,
yeah.
Are you okay today?
Welcome to The Stacks, a podcast about books and the people who read them. I'm your host, Tracy Thomas, and it is The Stacks Book Club Day. I am joined again by Sequoia Holmes, host of the Black People Love Paramore and Freshly Popped podcasts. We're going to discuss our August pick, Fish Tales by Nettie Jones. This novel in vignettes follows Lois Jones, a woman in her 30s living freely and fiercely in 1970s Detroit and New York City until her party lifestyle goes legit by a handsome and cruel man named Brooke. In this episode, we talk about the marketing and premise of this book, the way Jones explores freedom, cruelty, mental illness, physical health, and so much more in this slim novel, and why we think Toni Morrison was drawn to this project as its editor. Yes, there are spoilers on today's episode, and please make sure you listen to the very, very end to find out what our September book club pick will be. Do you like this podcast? Do you want even more bookish content, hot takes, opinions, raves, and pans? You're in luck. You can join our community, the Stacks Pack, on Patreon and subscribe to my newsletter, Unstacked, on Substack. Each of these places offers you different perks, some of which include bonus episodes, our mega reading challenge, our virtual book club, a whole slew of my opinions on pop culture and books. And by joining either or both of these places, you make it possible for me to make this podcast every single week. So to join, head to patreon.com/thestacks to check out the Stacks Pack and subscribe to my newsletter Unstacked at tracythomas.substack.com. All right, now it is time for my conversation with Sequoia Holmes about Fish Tales by Nettie Jones. All right, everybody, it is the Stacks Book Club Day. It is August 26th, 2026, and we are discussing this month's pick, which is Fish Tales by Nettie Jones. But before I talk about the book, I have to introduce you to my illustrious guest. Her name is Sequoia Holmes. She is a podcaster. She is a pop culture aficionado. She was an amazing guest at the beginning of this month. If you haven't listened, go back and listen. And I am thrilled to welcome her back to the Stack. Sequoia, welcome back.
Hi, Tracy. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited to talk about this book.
I am so excited to talk about this book. So before we say a single word about the book, everybody listening at home, we will be spoiling this book. This is a book club pick. We will talk about it in detail. If you do not like spoilers, pause, read the book, come back. That is your right. If you did not read the book, but you still want to listen, you will be spoiled. The end. I love you. I mean it. Don't yell at me on the internet. Okay. Sequoia. Well, let me tell the people what the book is about. This book is about a woman named Lois Jones. She is in her 30s. She is, it starts with her in her teenage years. She's 12, actually, not even a teenager. And it's about her life. The beginning part of her life, she experiences some trauma. And then as she is a young adult into her adulthood, she becomes a sort of free woman, if you will. She has lots of sex. She does lots of drugs. She drinks lots of alcohol. And she's living between New York and Detroit. Now, Sequoia, the question I ask everybody, where we start, broadly, big picture, what did you think of Fish Tales?
I did not like this book.
Okay.
I did not like it.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy it. It felt scary.
Okay.
And it felt scary and like a little too visceral. Like, again, I clearly like the way that Nettie Jones writes, or I like her writing abilities. I don't know that I like the way this was written.
Okay.
Does that make sense? That's my overarching thoughts.
Okay. I sort of like this book.
Did you?
I did. I sort of did. I have some issues with the book, but like I loved her writing style. I thought it was really propulsive. Like I wanted to get through it. I liked the short chapters. I liked the like every time something happened, I was like, can't get worse than this, or like can't do more than this. She's done it. This is it.
Hold my beer.
Like I finished the book and then I was reading in a review and I had forgotten about the champagne enema. Like that's how crazy the book is, and I had forgotten about a moment that I felt like I'll never forget this in my life.
Tracy, I couldn't forget that if my life depended on it. I read it, walked into my fiance's office, and was like, "Let me tell you about the crazy ass shit I just read." And an image that I have in my head that I do not want, that would have never had.
They'll have for the rest of your life,
right?
So I did sort of like it. I want to start here. The way that this book is marketed. This book was originally written in 1983. It went sort of off into obscurity. It was republished last year by Farrar, Straus and Giroux. Sure, I'm saying that wrong. FSG, as we call it, for those of us who can't speak. And the way the book is marketed is sort of like this is a fun summer book about a party girl. Like the back copy says, confident and cavalier, Lewis Jones seeks freedom and a good time, leaving mayhem in her wake. Strutting between the bohemia demimonde of New York City and the affluent black community of Detroit, she guzzles champagne, snorts piles of cocaine, wakes up on silk sheets with a variety of lovers. And then she is upended by the handsome, erudite, often cruel Brooke, a man who has his own bevy of admirers. Soon, Lewis and Brooke are ensnared in a struggle for dominance that launches them into a shock of violence. Does that sound like a book that starts off with a rape, followed by a teacher sexually assaulting for years a 12-year-old girl into a champagne enema? It doesn't even mention that Brooke is a quadriplegic. Like this, I feel that this copy did many people, and probably you, a disservice. Yes. What did you think about this?
I feel the exact same way. I'm like, yeah, what's the fun part? When was the fun part supposed to come? And then describing Lewis as confident, I would never use the word confident in my life.
No.
To describe it.
Desperate.
Full opposite. Full opposite.
Insecure.
Anything
clingy.
but. Yes. Troubled.
Troubled. I feel that I thought I was getting Sex and the City Black 1980s.
Exactly what I thought I was getting.
And I got trauma. And that's fine. Like, this is a book that I'm glad exists and should exist. But to put this cover, this yellow cover with a red high heel stiletto, like this is going to be about a Manolo Blahnik.
Right.
And not about a fucking abusive relationship and a woman who is an abuser and abused and an addict and all of these other things.
Right.
Feels like marketing malpractice.
No, it was completely marketed in a way that I would never market it. Even the cover, like you talked about. Obviously, we know never judge a book by its cover, right? I've seen this cover for a lot of my life. I have laid eyes on the cover of this book so often. And so I had this picture in my head of what the book was going to be about because I've seen it for 30 years now.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, yeah, that's going to be a fun, maximalist.
Yes.
You know the way that like black women's houses were decorated in the 80s and the 90s, and it's going to be maximalist, it's going to be animal print, it's going to be blah, blah, blah. These are the images that I have in my mind. Not visceral, bodily, funk, it was a lot.
Yeah. And that has really nothing to do with what's in the book. Like,
right.
I feel that what's in the book, I think it's quite interesting. It's not for everybody. I understand it's like a lot and it's like, it can be icky for sure. But also you're setting up your reader for failure if they think they're getting click, click, clack of my heels down the street. And really they're getting a woman being like punched in the face. Like it's just like you need to be prepared for that as a reader in some way. You don't have to give it all away in the blurb, but like you've got to let us know that this is not a cutesy thing.
No, you can't start off with confident. You really can't start off with confident and cavalier. Those, cavalier, sure. I'll give you that. Confident, you just can't lead with that. It's not It's not true to form. It's
Right.
not true to who she is.
Like, at least be like irresponsible
Ugh.
or like chaotic.
Also, Tracy, answer this for me because it never became super clear to me. Is she struggling with schizophrenia?
Okay. I do want to talk about this. In the book, it starts, like I said, she's got the first part of the book is called Disconnect. And it is a bunch of different vignettes around different lovers in her life.
Yes.
It starts with her first sort of sexual encounter, or one of her earliest ones. It's not her first because she's pregnant when the book starts at like 12 years old. Actually, I think she's 16 there, and then we go back to when she's 12. Anyways, she's in her teens. And it goes by each of her lovers. So like starts with Jason, and then it goes to like Mr. Brown, who's her teacher. And throughout this whole first section, there is this like character that she talks to, Sestra, who is this woman in my mind who she refers to as her sister. This character to me is a very unclear character, I think on purpose. Is this a voice in her head? Is this someone she knew and is talking to? Is this just like her conscience? What's going on? Later throughout the book, there are multiple instances of mental health crises where she blacks out. She ends up in mental hospitals. It happens at least twice. One time, I believe she also goes to jail. She's like, or at least she's accosted by the police. She's reprimanded. I don't know that she specifically is schizophrenic. Like, I don't know that it specifically says that, but clearly there are mental health issues going on with her, which I also think complicates this idea that this is just like fun, bang, bang, bang. How did you read it?
I started reading it as though she was schizophrenic and we just weren't having names to it because we talk about Sestra, and maybe I'm mistaken, but I think there was one other named character that she started referring to as her internal monologue, or there was one other person, I think. I really could be wrong on that. Where it's like, it might have just been Sestra the whole time. Yeah, like Sestra telling her to jump out the window during the whatever her. Oh my God. And then there's Kitty Cat. Oh my God. Nice, wonderful, nice Kitty Cat. Kitty Cat. I love Kitty Cat's character. But Kitty Cat dealing with his best friend's mental health crises and just kind of being like, oh yeah, she went through another one of her things, Oh yeah, she's like going through another one of her things. I'm like, what is the thing? What's the thing? What is it? Is it schizophrenia? Is she borderline? Is it bipolar? Is she manic in these points? Like, what's happening?
Right. Yeah, I think it's definitely undefined, at least undiagnosed to us mental illness, but I feel like it was pretty clearly something. One of the things that happened to me when I was reading this book that I don't think is actually bared out in the text, but I was sort of like considering it as an option maybe halfway through the book when I was because there were definitely times where I was like really confused as to what was going on. I think the vignette structure sort of lends itself to that kind of confusion.
Yes.
But I started thinking, what if all of these people are not at all like she's such an unreliable narrator that they're all like actually unhoused people, and they are sort of like, this is like her fantasy of her life. So like the things are happening, but they're not actually like going out to these fancy restaurants. And like, because it would be like she would show up somewhere and the bouncer would be like, oh, you're back, or like whatever. That I was like, oh, maybe they are like a quote unquote nuisance. Like maybe her and her crew, like it's not as glamorous as she's making it out to be. She shares this apartment with Woody, who's her ex-husband, and like maybe he feels bad for her. And so she doesn't really share the apartment. He's given her like a room, but he can't really control her, and she's in and out, and he's just like trying to do the right thing by her. And I don't know that that's like bared out in the text, but for probably at least a quarter of the book in the middle, like that third quarter, I was really working on like, this is going to be the twist. Like that's where I thought the book was going. Because she like, after she goes to the mental hospital at the end of part one, I was like, oh, now she's out. She's on the streets. She has nowhere to go. And this is like her delusion of what's happening.
There's always Woody. Woody's always like, yeah, you can come on back home, babe. We've got your room held for you. But yeah, no, that would make so much sense if it was actually Woody's entire apartment. He's like, yeah, my wife, we never really got a proper divorce. Yeah. But I don't want her to have nowhere to go. So I put her up in that room sometimes, just like leave her alone. If you see her, keep your, maybe keep your distance, be mindful she's not all there.
That's sort of how I had read it. I don't know if that's bared out in the text, but that carried me through like at least 50 pages. I was like, oh, I figured it out, because I'm always like trying to like slew the book to like see if I got it right.
Yeah. No, that's a really good one. I could see that, and that would help make sense of it for me, because a lot of it was confusing, like you said. While I appreciate the vignettes and that it kept the pace of the book, really quick and pretty interesting, and every vignette in and of itself was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely lends itself to a level of confusion that I don't prefer in my books.
Yeah, I don't prefer to be confused in this way when I read fiction. However, I think like a lot of the stuff she was tackling and the way she was tackling it was really interesting and exciting to me. Like, I think about if this book was written now, how precious it would be. And it would be like, she's dealing with mental illness. And like everything would be so defined. It would be like Kitty, her friend, who is a man, but also likes to dress as a woman, but is not transgender. Like it would just be like so prescriptive. And I liked how this was sort of just like, he gave me the look, so I walked over and started touching myself. And I'm like, great. I'm like,
wow. There was also her and Kitty having sex often.
Yeah, often.
That kept confusing me as well. I'm like, why?
Well, this is like the free love thing. This is like was like big in this era, I feel.
Yeah.
Of like women can like we have Roe v. Wade. Women can be as promiscuous as they want now.
Mm-hmm.
They can, and so I think a lot of writers were sort of exploring this at this time, which I think is really like interesting to see her sort of in a lineage, like from this moment, this like forgotten text that is now back and being like, right, this is what people were talking about. And I think, even the reviews at the time were like, whoa, this is even more than we're used to, but that like, this is something like that she was really pushing the boundaries at the time.
1000%. I was thinking for 1983, this had to be a shocking piece of text to come out in 1983.
Yeah. Cause it does read really fresh. Mostly the only things that like don't feel super fresh in the book now are like some of the references, like Kitty has like the voice like Lena Horne, and I think like I know who Lena Horne is, but people, it would be someone more culturally relevant if it was written now,
right? But just on the note of Kitty and her having sex all the time, the reason why it bothered me, there is the cultural narrative that like men and women can't be friends without it being sexual to some degree, and like lots of people genuinely believe that.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't fuck my friends. I'm never gonna fuck my friend. I'm never gonna fuck my gay best friend. I'm never gonna fuck any of my friends. It's just not gonna happen. Why is she up here? Why are they up here having sex with each other?
Well, you're not Lewis.
Let me tell you something. I'm sure not. I'm absolutely not Lewis at all.
I mean, like,
me and Lewis could not be more different.
Yeah, there's lots of things that characters in books don't do or do that I would never do.
I'm like, girl, you making us look bad. Us with besties that are male.
Yeah.
You making us look funny.
Right, but remember their relationship started with her calling him for sex. Remember, like she calls on Christmas, like dial your desire or whatever. So like it was always
I forgot
sexual.
that was Kitty.
Yeah. That was Kitty. It was supposed to be two men, but then it was just Kitty, and then she was like, Kitty's the most beautiful man I've ever seen. I sort of envisioned that character a la like RuPaul. Where like sometimes RuPaul's in full drag and then sometimes he's not. And like, is this other like sort of masculine versus feminine version? Like, so I kind of envision Kitty like that, where Kitty could easily sort of move between these two things. And that like some of
RuPaul's
the fun.
Fine.
And RuPaul's fine.
Too.
Exactly.
Like,
So I sort of feel like in my mind, it makes sense because like they're both these like really sexual beings. And that like some of the fun was probably like having sex with Kitty when he's like dolled up. And sometimes it was fun having sex with Kitty when he's like dolled down. I don't know if that's a term.
I get that.
But you know what I mean? Like it was just sort of like their friendship was around fucking and sucking,
It sure was.
Like it wasn't probably like your friendships where it's like, so do you want to go to dinner? They were like, do you want to do drugs and fuck? And they were like bringing people into their relationship. Like, so I feel like that was the basis of their friendship.
Yeah. No. Okay. I forget that initial prostitution call, I would say, was Kitty. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Did you read the author's note at the end of this book?
I think I did. Question mark. Is it the epilogue?
It's like the little bit where she talks about her own life and how she wrote the book.
Yes.
So
I was shocked.
I mean, I was shocked, but it sort of made me appreciate the book more because I was like, right, this is not just a totally fanciful story, but like a lot of this is the life that Nettie Jones lived. And have you ever heard of this term autofiction?
No.
Okay, so autofiction is like a type of fiction where authors it's autobiographical fiction, where authors take their life and sort of fictionalize it. And generally, I hate autofiction. Generally, I think it's just like a way for an author to be like, here's what I think about immigration because I I was an immigrant. And so and then the character will like have like monologues where they talk about like ICE or whatever. And I fucking hate that kind of shit. A lot of times autofiction is like about like a relationship. Like there was a book a few years ago called Liars where this woman like did autofiction of her divorce and like her marriage falling apart and her husband cheating. And like it was a compelling book, but also I was just like, just write the essay. Like just tell us what happened.
Go to the cut, write the essay.
But this book is autofiction. And I felt like it read like real fiction. It did not feel to me like Nettie Jones was like preaching to us.
Not at all.
About like, yeah, this is what life should be. Or like, it was almost so removed that I was like, she doesn't even have, like, it didn't feel like she had an opinion about any of this stuff. She just was like, here's what happened.
And that is something that I appreciated about it. It was very non-judgmental overall. Yes. You know, like there was no morality around it. There was no, you know, like, oh, this is how bad people behave and this is how good people behave and yada. None of that was happening. It was literally just a fictionalized, inflated or heightened version of things that she has experienced, to my surprise. I was like, girl, you been through this?
Yeah.
Nettie, you okay? I literally had to look her up. I was like, now who is this woman? I needed a picture. I needed all types of stuff because I'm like, wait, what do you mean that this was your life?
Yeah,
girl. Yeah, are you okay today?
I mean, like even the part where she, in her like author's note thing, and she talked about how she like fell in love with a quadriplegic, and I was like, wait. I thought for sure this bit was exaggeration, right? Like maybe she fell in love with the man who had a disability, but like the fact that it was just like her life.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty incredible.
I thought that was, and again, like you said, it was really fictionalized. Like it felt like I was reading fiction. It did not feel like I was reading somebody shoehorning a political stance about any specific thing through the lens of their life at all.
Yeah, it did. I was pretty, I knew that like I hadn't read any, I try not to read anything before I read the book, but I had heard from someone that like she had said during her press run for this re-release that like the book, like a lot of the stories came from her life. But that to me was like, oh, a person like Kitty she knew, or like once she had an orgy. Not like, even she talks about Woody, her ex-husband, who like, she was like, well, the character Woody is based on my ex-husband, Frank.
Like...
I'm just like,
and I was like, she wasn't even like changing the names that much.
Right.
You know what I mean?
The main
like,
character is Louis Jones, and the author's name is Nettie Jones.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, oh wow, it was so vivid in the fictionalization. It almost read like magical realism sometimes to me, where I'm like, this is so heightened and so beyond my scope. I cannot even picture what you're talking about.
Right. And I think probably the vignettes help with that too, because it's like has this sort of, there's like no clearly defined space and time. Like sometimes we're in New York, sometimes we're in Detroit, and you're sort of just, there's never like, and then I moved to Detroit. It's like,
never. I never know where we are. Right.
No
we're like referencing spaces, and I've never lived in New York nor Detroit, so I'm like, they're referencing streets and Midtown and blah blah blah, and I'm like, are you in Midtown New York? You in Midtown Detroit? I don't know. What,
do they even have a Midtown Detroit?
Is there a Midtown Detroit? I don't know what's going on.
It's true. And to your point about like the lack of judgment, I do think that also really helped the book for me. I think if it had felt like preachy in any way of like, let them have sex, or like, this is a life of deceit or whatever, I would have hated it. But I did feel like, you know, like there's so much queerness in this novel, like not just in the sex, but just like in the presentation of almost everything, and like the way that she moves around, and she just drops off an abortion like on the first page, and she's sort of like, I wouldn't say that she like rationalizes or forgives this like childhood sexual assault from this teacher, but she doesn't condemn it. Like she just sort of is like, this happens.
Yeah.
This happens and it happened. And you, dear reader, can feel about it how you feel about it.
Right.
And I
did.
I just feel like nowadays authors don't trust their readers to feel or do anything. Like
That
she
is
was
so
very much like, if
true.
you're reading this book, you're a big kid, you can figure it out.
She's like, yeah, you lean on, I'm going to tell you what happened. You make your own judgment calls, your own feelings, your own vibes about how you feel about it. Yeah. The teacher angle in the beginning, it was so non-victim.
Yeah.
From a circumstance that is objectively you have been victimized,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And she's telling it from a perspective that is so non-victim and only even slips into a victim thought about it when it goes south.
Right.
When the man marries somebody else or whatever, and then she's yelling at the new wife, you know, oh, he's been touching me since I was 12. He's been molesting me since I was 12.
Right.
And she's only doing that because she wants him.
Right.
And obviously there's some Stockholm syndrome there.
Yeah.
But yeah, even the way that she talks about her own things where she is objectively the victim or something bad is happening to her, she almost doesn't give a damn. It's almost like she lives in a world where it's like, yeah, bad things happen. I'm not special.
Right. Right.
And as a girl who loves a happy ending, I don't like it. I'm like, no, stop. I know bad things happen in the world. I don't want to read about it. Stop.
See, I'm the opposite. I'm a very much bad things happen person. So I really like it. And again, I just feel like in 2026, this book is so different. I probably hate this book in 2026.
It would be really bad. The story, the language used, the specificity, like you said, the naming of everything would be right there. And I'm trying to think, would I like it more? I don't think there's a world that I like a character like this, unfortunately. You know? And it's not that I always have to like my main characters, but I do want to find something redeemable. And I wasn't able to find that in Lewis personally. It wasn't like she was the worst human being ever, but I also couldn't find anything that I could latch onto from Lewis.
I want to talk about Lewis. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and talk about Lewis. Summer has been good to us over here at the Stacks. We have released the nonfiction reading guide. We have celebrated my birthday. And as always, we have released a whole bunch of bookish episodes with authors and readers. If you've loved hanging out with us and you find yourself craving even more from the Stacks universe, consider supporting us on Patreon and Substack. Making this podcast takes a whole village. And by subscribing to both of these places, Patreon and Substack, you allow me to make the show, to work with my fantastic team and continue doing what we do best, which is talking books. And when you join, you yourself get some perks. On Patreon, which is really our bookish community, you have access to hundreds of other readers in our Discord. You get to be part of our year-long reading challenge to push your reading goals. And you get to attend our monthly virtual book club meetups. Then over on Substack, which you can think of more as a place for hot takes and pop culture analysis, you get my newsletter, Unstacked. Over there, I'm giving you reading rankings. I'm talking about the books that are coming out and my weekly grown-up show and tell, which has me recapping my loves and my hates from the previous week. So that's what you get in each place, but there is some overlap. On Patreon and Substack, you will have access to my nonfiction reading guide from now until September 22nd, as well as access to our monthly bonus episodes. I understand that paying for subscriptions might not be available to some of you, and that's why in both Patreon and Substack, there are also free tiers that can help you stay connected with the Stacks and get you some pretty cool bonus content. So head to patreon.com/the Stacks to join the Stacks pack and subscribe to my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Well, it's official. We are reaching the final weeks of summer. With fall right around the corner, the minis and I have been spending every single moment we possibly can soaking up the pool, the beach, and do you know what has absolutely elevated our beach and pool sessions? Cozy Earth's Ultra Plush beach towels. They have become an essential part of our swimming lifestyle, giving us resort level comfort and durability that we need for all of our outside adventures. If you have 6-year-olds in your life, you know what I mean when I say durability. I cannot rave enough about these towels. Not only do they come in really cute, good-looking patterns, mine are pink and orange and they're vibrant and I love them, but they're also so practical. They're oversized, and I know people say that about towels, but these ones are actually like very big in an exciting way. They're made from a blend of cotton and viscose from bamboo, making them way softer and more absorbent than your other beach towels. Plus, no risk. Cozy Earth backs your purchase with a 10-year warranty because they're that confident in the quality of their products. And if you change your mind, returns are hassle-free. But take my word for it, you're not going to want to do that. They are worth the investment. Oversized, ultra plush, and completely built for your best summer days. Head to cozyearth.com and use my code THESTACKS for an exclusive 20% off. That's code THESTACKS for an exclusive 20% off. And if you see a post-purchase survey, mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Okay, we're back as promised. We're going to talk about Lewis because I love an unlikable character. An unlikable woman character specifically, though I sometimes like unlikable men characters too. Sometimes. But what I was thinking a lot about when I was reading this book is she unlikable or is she an anti-hero? And do you make a distinction between those two kinds of characters? And if so, what's your distinction?
I do think those are different. I don't think she's necessarily likable or unlikable. I think she is just really, really human. And I think she's an anti-hero in that she has no real behavioral character arc. Or you know what? I guess she does in that she eventually falls in love with somebody and quote unquote settles down. But she doesn't really have a story arc that is like, oh yeah, and then she learned her lesson, and then things changed.
Sure. There's no resolution.
There's no resolution.
Happily ever after.
There's no dark night of the soul that causes a different behavior soon, you know?
Well,
and so I think she is the anti-hero. What do you think, Tracy?
I think she's an anti-hero. I was just thinking a lot about how, like, when we read books that I call like unlikable women characters, generally I mean that they're pretty likable women. They just make bad choices. In this case, I feel like an anti-hero, like which is usually used for men, it's usually around like selfish characters who are sort of like very one-track minded, and they want what they want. They're going to do anything they can to get it and keep it. They're manipulative. They're abusive. They're unreliable. They lie to the audience. They lie to other characters. And so for me,
an example would be Marty Supreme.
I didn't see Marty Supreme,
okay,
but like Breaking Bad,
that's an example.
Breaking Bad
exactly.
is like a very famous one. Some people argue that Carrie Bradshaw is actually an anti-hero.
Yes, I would give that. Yes.
And so I felt
Likeable,
like and also I feel like anti-heroes can be very charming. It's like we don't like them because of the bad things they're doing, but we are endeared to them and we want to be with them in a way that an unlikable character is sort of like, they're like a fine person who's just like doing bad things. And you're like, stop. Like an unlikable character, you're like, if you just didn't do that, things would be fine. Whereas an anti-hero, it's like, you are bad to the bone. Like you are in your core fucked up. And so to me, that distinction felt really important in this book because it wasn't like if she just stopped having sex or like got sober. It was clear to me that like this woman is, and in this case, I mean, she has mental health issues. And so she's unwell, and the alcohol and the drugs and the sex and the like crazy lifestyles all contributing to that. But that like, that's who she is. She is fundamentally like a narcissist. She is fundamentally like, there is not a behavioral change that would make this person, quote unquote, better for the reader. Like this is just a book about a bad lady.
I agree. And I have trouble with people who don't want to be better.
Yes. Okay.
And she definitely had no interest in being better. And I think that's where I fall off with Lewis, where I'm like, okay, starting off this novel, okay, I see she's gonna improve. She's gonna get sober, and maybe that'll address her mental health issues. You wouldn't know if your mental health issues are induced by alcohol and drugs or not, unless you stop the damn alcohol and drugs.
Right.
But does she have an interest in doing that? No. Even if it's to the detriment of her mental health, she does not give a fuck. That irks the fuck out of me, out of a Virgo moon girl.
Okay.
Whose the whole language is, critique and improvement. That's how I feel love. That's how I give love. I can't. This is not somebody that I could ever fuck with. Reading about her stressed me clean out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you know what I think is going to be interesting? I feel like there will be plenty of people listening to this conversation who feel the same way as you. Like, I think this is a book that is super polarizing for readers. I think especially going in, if you do not know that this is going to be as violent and sort of obscene as it is, you're just not prepared.
You're not prepared. It's vulgar. It's real
vulgar.
Yeah.
And so I feel like there's probably, I would guess, if I had to guess, I would guess 75% of people who are listening to this are probably agree with you. Not that I disagree with you, but like have come down on this character in the ways that you have. I think I'm slightly more into it just because I like fiction that is just like, I like my fiction to be despicable people. Like my favorite characters are always bad guys. My favorite Shakespeare play is Richard III. Like I'm like, Hamlet, boring. Do not care. I'm like, you're scratching the surface for me with like an Iago, you know? But like, I even like, this is going to sound bad because I'm going to say this very clearly. I do not like this person, but I am so deeply captivated by the fucking horror that is Donald Trump. Like
I get that. I do get that.
Like his fucked up behavior, his evilness, and then also like his little jokey jokes. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, like that absolutely. Kind of person, I cannot take my eyes off of. I hate him. I despise him and everything he's done. And yet, when I see a clip of him, I'm like, what's this nigga gonna do next?
I definitely understand exactly what you mean.
And so I feel like a book like this, she is that kind of person where I'm just like, you are gonna do the absolute most unhinged thing in every moment because that is who you are. And I'm gonna come with you and openly be like, what's happening every single time.
I'm going to drop you off at the corner and tell you don't talk to lose my number. Get out of my car.
That's right. I don't want her to have my phone number. Do you know what I mean? Like I will have her number so I can be like, hey, where are you at? But like I'll always be no caller ID, you know? Like I'm always
her location's on. Yes. She doesn't have your location though.
Never.
But you need her to keep hers on.
Yes. She can reach me via email at most, you know, and I don't check my email on the weekend. So, you know, we'll see.
Sorry, girl.
But like I will, if I see that you're out, I will be out with you.
Okay. That's fair. Yeah.
Okay, the other thing I want to talk about, or one of the other things I want to talk about, is the split of this book. Disconnect part 1, connect part 2. Did you have any thoughts about this? Did you try to make sense of this at all?
I didn't try to make sense of this at all. And now when I think about it in retrospect, I'm like, makes complete sense. She, you know, is kind of floating about life in the beginning. She doesn't have any real anchor. And during the disconnect portion, and then during connect, she has a very clear anchor in, what's that man? Brooke. Trash. He's trash. He was
awful.
He was awful. My God.
Which I also loved. I love when there's disability representation and the person is just a fucking monster.
I did like that. And I also think, I'm just for reference where I'm coming from. My dad died of cancer and I watched him die. And as he got sicker and sicker, he kind of got meaner and meaner. And my dad was a very stoic, very non-emotive. And if there was an emotion, it was nice. Always like very likable, very, very nice guy. During that illness that was taking his ability, he was not. He got meaner and meaner and meaner. And so I feel like that is a very realistic portrayal of someone who went from really high ability.
Yeah.
You know, he's a football player
wrestler,
and swooned after, or a wrestler. Yeah. And like swooned after and all of that. 6'3", whatever, 6'5", you know, height is really important to men. To now you can't lean on your height at all.
Right.
You don't have the abilities that made people swoon over you in the first place. Something that does to a person, I liked the way that they portrayed Brooke. That felt very realistic to me.
Yeah. Two things that you're saying reminded me of 2 moments in the book. One is, I can't remember if it was Kitty or Woody, but they say to Lewis, they're like, imagine having to look up at every person.
That stuck out to me too.
right? Like because
Imagine
he's
going
in the wheelchair.
from looking down because you're tall to having to look up.
You always have to look up. And then the other bit was there's a part where I believe after he's told her kind of her story or something, she makes a comment or maybe she thinks that's like, I could tell he was even meaner before.
Oh,
remember?
yeah.
She has like some line of like, I could tell he was like an even bigger asshole.
It was like Sestra talking in her head, I think.
Oh,
saying
yeah, maybe
like,
it was Sestra.
yeah, he was even a bigger asshole before the accident.
And I think,
I'm like,
yeah, but
how?
I do hear what you're saying of like sometimes like I think like some of the resentment that he showed like towards his disability and like towards the situation that he's been living in since he was a teenager. I thought that was really I thought he was a really fleshed out character.
Yes.
Especially considering how short the book is and how like in the grand scheme of things, he only is part of half of the book, which is more than a lot of the other characters, but still like it's her point of view. And I felt like Nettie Jones was able to like give him complexity and a depth that was interesting. And I think like part of the, I think one of the things that Lewis says about him is like, it was the first time I ever met a man that I thought was like as good as me or was better than me. And so I thought that was really interesting because the whole first half of the book, she's just bopping around doing her thing. And then she settles down with this person because she finally finds someone that she thinks is like worthy of her or like she is needed to be near.
Yeah.
As far as like the two parts of the book, the disconnect and the connect, in part one, disconnect, she has that conversation with like Mr. Brown's wife where he says something to her. She says something to her that's like, you need to disconnect your pussy from your brain. Sorry, I had to say the
way
word.
that I jumped when I read, I screamed. I think I screamed and laughed. I think that was the only time I laughed out loud reading this. I screamed and I laughed.
Yeah, but I do think that like that is the framing of the whole first part. She's running around having sex with everybody because she's like attempting to do this thing, but it ends with her, that section ends with her, in a hospital admitted for mental illness. And then in part two is when she connects her pussy, if you will, and her heart to her brain with Brooke. And that ends with, and this is the big spoiler, her murdering Brooke. So it's not as if you didn't think it was a murder.
No, I did. I said, oh, she just killed him. And then I looked it up and the internet was like, no, she didn't. And I was like,
what do you mean? She didn't.
I was like, yes, she did. She took something sharp to his neck and there was blood. What are you talking about?
What are we talking about? Who said it wasn't a murder?
Hold on. I literally just Googled it.
Do you know what's so
you never
funny?
know.
I always think everything is a murder. Every book I read, like every time I read a book, I'm like, oh, it was a murder.
No, she killed him.
There's no other way to read that ending.
Like, I'm like, what are you talking about? The blood, why was, unless she again has psychosis and she made that shit up, she killed him.
Wait. Here's what happens. She goes to the apartment after he's like broken up with her or whatever. And Tommy's there, the other woman. Because also he has like all these women like waiting on him. I'm just like, I want to meet this man so bad. Like what was the riz? Because it was obviously off the charts, right? Like we're to believe is very swaggy over there.
And my thought here is when she says she met someone who's better than her, I think you can think about it as someone who's worse than her, i.e. more narcissistic than her and more alluring in that way. That
he's not necessarily, I don't know if she said better, but like that he is her, but like bonus, like plus.
Like really rizzed up. Yeah.
Yeah. So then he comes back and Tommy's like, I'm out of here. Like this is fucking nuts. So it's just Lewis and Brooke in there. And he starts like, just like, talking shit to her. He calls her a pill-popping parasite bitch. He says, my brain is not paralyzed, Lewis. Yours is, however, and not accidentally. So after they have this fight, she goes and gets Tommy's birthday gift that she'd selected. There's like 2 like pieces of lingerie. And she says, the scissors waited in the shopping bag with the wrappings and ribbons. I picked them up to use on her gifts. How funny it would be to see her face after she opened up those pretty gold boxes and found those beautiful teddies cut in half. I ended up in his study with those scissors. He didn't look at me until I got real close to him. I saw his raw terror. I lifted those black stockings up in the air and draped them over his head. The pieces looked like streams of smoke descending. I tried to stuff one into his mouth. Then I cut holes in the teddies where their buttoned breasts were placed. Brooke didn't say a word, just sat there rigidly. When I finished, he turned tried to get his telephone off its cradle without taking his eyes off me. As he searched for the 9, I went out like a set of Christmas tree lights. His cries for help sounded so far from us. The blood and the gash in his neck, his arm lifted to protect his head. Boys got hard, hard heads, Sestra whispered.
Oh my God.
That's a fucking murder.
No, yeah, she definitely murdered him. She absolutely murders him.
Okay, glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah.
This is why AI ain't shit.
I'm telling you.
Like, please.
Don't
it's
just
in
Google
the
it.
text.
It was right. The text was right there.
Yeah. Then she goes to Woody and he's like, hey, you
Girl,
got blood
you look
on
a little
you.
disheveled.
Yeah,
right.
it's giving blood.
Everything okay?
Everything okay. And he's there with his girl Cookie and he's like, Cookie, please leave the room.
Get up, Kid Cookie.
Yeah.
You might
he's
want to.
like, Cookie, you need to take that shower. You need to go. And then he realizes who he's dealing with. He's probably maybe genuinely the only person who ever really loved this woman.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if not, I mean, who knows? Maybe not love, but like he's one of the few people who always took care of her. It sounds like
Yes.
he sort of did right by her. And then we get this like epilogue, which ends with where the book starts. Do you remember these like italicized paragraphs about Miss Annie Stewart?
I do remember the italicized paragraphs, but before we get to that part, can I just say that I really loved the end of this book? Like where essentially she says like, the freedom that you gave me felt like you didn't care. Like it didn't feel like I know that you love me. I know that you care. And you were trying to let me be the wholest version of myself and the version of myself that felt the most natural, but your lack of anchoring me felt like you didn't give a fuck about me or like abandonment. That was so potent and so interesting to me. I loved that portion. It didn't bring the whole book around for me, but I did really like the way that it wrapped up.
So I do feel like the ending is what brought the book around for me. I get
how it could.
Yeah, I was more on your wavelength. Like I was texting a friend who had read it when I was probably like 70% in, and I was like, how am I going to talk about this? Like, I don't know that I understand what I'm reading. Like, I don't know. And then after I finished the book, I just texted her and said, a murder. I'm in.
Yeah.
Because like there's something about, if this book had ended in any other way, even if it had ended in like a more positive, like, I'm walking away, like, I don't need you, Brooke, kind of like, you go girl ending, I would have hated it, right? Like it wouldn't have worked.
Like that as much,
but even if she just like left him because she found another lover, I would have been like, this is so unsatisfying. But there's something so satisfying about this like character that is so over the top, going out in this sort of like unhinged, violent, murderous thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then this epilogue where she goes back to Woody and he's like, I thought I was loving you. I thought I was giving you what you needed. And she was like, you gave me the freedom to destroy myself.
Right. You watched me just destroy myself. And I think that's what got her so hung up on Brooke. He was really critical of the way that she destroyed herself, you know?
Right.
And because she had never had anybody criticize her, that felt like love to her.
And also there was like a rigidity of his life. Right? Like there were things that needed to be done. There was a purpose to being with him.
She was anchored for the first time. Yeah, she never had any anchor at any other point. And for the first time, this person needs me. In fact, he kept saying, I don't want you. I don't want you. And she kept saying, but you need me.
You need me.
I was like, girl, oh my God. This is again, this is why calling her confident was so shaking to me. Like, I'm like, confident
where is the confidence in the room with us?
No confidence. It's not in the room. It's not in the book. We're not on the same page. There is no confidence.
Right.
She has no self-concept. She doesn't know who she is.
Right.
That's the bottom line. She has no clue who she is. She keeps waiting for somebody to tell her. Brooke tells her, essentially, you are my caregiver. I will give you a life not worth living, but like that somebody needs you, quote unquote.
Right.
And does she latch on. Meanwhile, Woody thinks he's doing the best thing for her, letting her be a free spirit, letting her be a free woman. letting her, be poly if that's what she wants to do. And meanwhile, that feels like abandonment to her.
Right. Ugh, so interesting.
Tough.
There's like two more things I want to just quickly touch on before we get out of here. One is this beginning and the end. So the book opens with these italicized paragraphs about Miss Annie Simmons strutted down her front porch steps on one May day, butt naked except for a pair of high-heeled pink satin bedroom slippers and a short strand of coral-colored pop beads. And it goes on to talk about how she like squats down in the street and starts masturbating. And then the police come over and her husband comes outside. And he says, "Oh, Annie, baby, my po baby, what's wrong, Annie?" Those are the first words I ever remember hearing Mr. Simmons say to anyone other than good day. Mrs. Simmons didn't say anything. She just lay there looking up at the sky, snot running from her nose, thick spit formed at the corners of her mouth. As they went to pick her up, she looked at them only long enough to spit in Mr. Simmons's face. After that, she just closed her eyes and seemed to be asleep. And then at the end of the book, we have this paragraph, much shorter. Mrs. Annie Simmons went berserk one day, walked down out our street butt naked. I was coming home from school. They threw her down on the sidewalk. She kept yelling out, "Help me, Jesus. Somebody help me. They're trying to kill me." Mr. Simmons threw his blanket over her and held her down and waited for the policeman. Spit formed at the corners of her mouth as she quieted and stared straight up at the sky. Do you think that Lewis is Annie Simmons?
I do. I do think Lewis is Annie Simmons. Yeah.
Do you think it is? Do you think this scene is happening right at the end of the book, or do you think this is in some future?
Future. I think this is a little bit of time has passed. Future. Yeah.
So you think this continues, and that Mr. Simmons is Woody?
It never occurred to me who Mr. Simmons is, but yeah, I definitely think Miss Simmons is Lewis for sure. What do you think?
So when I started the book, I thought that vignette was like something that Lewis remembered as like a child.
Same.
Like that just like framed her frame of reference of like a woman could go crazy. And there's a part where they talk early in the book where she talks about that boy Jason and his friends like running train on a girl and then she goes crazy.
Yeah.
And so at first I thought that's sort of where this book was driving, that like all of this sex was going to like make women crazy. But then throughout the book, a few people call her like Anna Lou and Annie Lou. And so I thought that maybe the Lou was like her middle name, Annie Lewis Simmons or whatever. And that I think the most interesting interpretation to me is that I think the most hopeful interpretation to me is that this italicized vignette happened immediately after. The police are there because they're looking for whoever killed Brooke. And then the reason I think that's hopeful is because then like maybe she gets the help she needs.
That's interesting.
I think if it's like in some future, it just means that she continues down this path for like a longer time, which feels like so much bleaker. I think both are probably could be right. But I think I chose to believe that it was just like this is just the next thing that happens. She runs outside. And also because at the end of the scene we were talking about with her and Woody, where she talks about, you gave me the freedom to destroy myself. There is a bit right there where she talks about like reaching down and touching her marbleized.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did notice clitoris. She said she reached down and she was marbleized.
Yeah. The tears flowed down his hairy chest. I took my finger out of my mouth, placing it squarely on my little girl. She was marbleized. So there is this idea that she was like aroused by all of this. And so she went outside to just like get to finish the job. So I think I don't know. There's also a version where like again this is just some other person.
Right. I really do think it's her. I like that maybe this happens right after she kills Brooke and goes home and sees Woody. Yeah, I think that's the version I like the most. What I would like your thoughts about is why are the retellings of it so different from the beginning to the end, Like in the beginning, Annie Lou spits. In the end, I'm not hearing much about the spitting.
Right.
And again, like there's just like these differences. I'm like, whose perspective are these? It's like it's coming from two different perspectives. Maybe the first one, I don't know. I'm wondering who these perspectives are.
I hadn't really thought about that. I mean, it's possible that the reason it's shorter is just because like we already know it. So she's just trying to jog our memory of this scene. And like, it would be weird to put the exact same paragraph there. But I think that's sort of like a boring answer. So I think maybe like a more interesting answer is that maybe it's like Lewis outside of her body looking down on it. And no, that doesn't really work. Maybe it's Sestra? No, I don't know.
Maybe so, because I'm like, maybe Sestra is her alter, you know? Like maybe it's not, maybe it's really her alter ego. But because the first retelling of that story almost has an erotic element, yes, but like in a good way. I can't think of the correct word for it, but it's almost like a glamorous erotic telling of it. And then the second one is bleak. It's not glamorous. It's it's not sexy. You know, like it's bleak.
Yeah, she seems more empowered in the first one.
Yeah, definitely feels more empowered in the first one. And then the second retelling, it's like, oh, this is a lady that is mad, that has gone mad. There's nothing empowering about it.
Yeah. Wow. Now I'm really like thinking about this. I wonder who is that person? Because when I first read it as like a child.
Yes.
Who was like seeing this, like a child version of Lewis.
So let's take that angle then. Maybe the first version, that's it. Maybe the first version is a child version of Lewis. Like child version of Lewis is watching a lady lose her mind. And like through the child's eyes, it's like, wow, this is kind of glamorous. And like, oh my God, like sensationalized. And then the second time it's her. And it's not glamorous. It's not sensationalized at all.
But is it like it would be her past self and her current self looking at the same situation?
I think it is her past self watching it happen to a different woman. It is her current self watching it happen to her current self.
But the person has the same name.
Yes. I don't know. Yes, yeah. That is my take. That doesn't make sense. But I like that one.
We're gonna take your thoughts on this. Feel free to let us know what you think. So one of the things about this book that I do want to touch on really quickly is that it was edited by Toni Morrison. It was one of the last things she worked on before she left to be just a writer herself and stop being an editor. This book came out after Tar Baby, but before Beloved. So she had not like won the Nobel Prize yet, but she had written Sula, Bluest Eye, Tar Baby, and Song of Solomon. And she had published her short story Recitative at this point. And I don't know how much Toni Morrison you've read, but I understood pretty quickly why Toni Morrison would want this book. It felt so in conversation with her. It reminded me a lot of Jazz, which she writes after. I believe she writes Jazz after the next book she writes after Beloved. But there's just like, I don't know. I just was like, sure, I see it. I get it. And also in this book, the other thing is that there's not a lot of conversation about race with any of the characters.
No.
I assumed that everyone was Black in the book.
Yep, me too.
But like a lot of people, I think you could read it, that some of these people are white. I mean, Brooke is described as having like alabaster skin and blue eyes. Some people have curly red hair. And, you know, we know that Black people can have all of these things. But I thought that was really interesting that she is not interested in discussing race at all, which is similar to Toni Morrison's Recitative. That's a book that is sort of like unraced, if you will.
Interesting. Yeah, I think there was something that I wish that I had a better descriptor of Lewis. You know, like I don't know if she was ever described, because like in a realistic world, why are you describing yourself? You kind of wouldn't. Yeah. You know?
We know she was like big. We know she was like big and tall.
Right. She kept saying that. And I'm like, from your perspective.
From her perspective. Right. Because she's so unreliable.
Like, yeah. I'm like, are you big? Like you're saying big. Like, I don't know. Like, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to know. I'm like, who is she? She doesn't know.
She had light eyes also. We know that. Mm-hmm. And we know she's like, I think we know she's fair skinned as well, because I believe she said that like her mother looked like his mother.
Okay.
Something like that. And he had a fair skin. There's like a few hints to sort of what she looked like through her perspective. But yeah, we don't really get a ton of descriptor on her.
The only person that I thought was white was the fat lady that she has sex with.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why I read that person as white. I may have just
I'm notorious for reading people like, I don't, if you've ever read Paradise by Toni Morrison.
No, I haven't.
Okay, so the opening line of that book is they shoot the white girl first, and there's all these girls, and she never says who the white girl is. But I read the book and had decided. I was like, oh, that's the white girl.
Yeah.
So like, I'm reading the whole last scene, and then I get on to do the episode with Namwali Serpell, and I'm like, oh, so and so, and she's like, they never said. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, no, it was the girl with the shorts.
I think it was. Yeah, no, that's how I'm like, yeah, no, yeah, she has sex with that white lady.
Interesting.
And that was
I did not read that character as white.
Oh,
but honestly, I was the opposite. I didn't read anybody as white. It didn't even occur to me that I just thought they were all black. I don't know. I just I just was like, this is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought they were all black too. The fact that she didn't mention race, for whatever reason, I thought she mentioned race to that white lady. Maybe she didn't. But yeah, I just assumed everybody was black. They all spoke like black people.
They just all were black to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I do wonder for like white readers if they read different character, like how they would read characters.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It felt very black to me, but I also know that Nettie Jones is black. Like, I feel like going in, I knew that. I wonder if I didn't know who wrote, if it was by anonymous, how I would feel, like.
That's fair. Yeah. Kitty Cat, Woody.
Kitty Cat is brown.
Brooke.
They say something about like Kitty Cat's like brown skin matched his brown coat or something like that.
Oh, okay.
There's something about his like coat being brown as his skin.
Interesting. Yeah. Everybody I decide they're black. Maybe because of their names. I'm like, Kitty Cat, that's a black man.
That's
Woody,
definitely a black man.
That's a black man.
Sure.
Brooke, I'm like, yeah, that's probably that's a black man.
Brooke
yeah.
no E. Brooke no E is giving
Brooke
black
no
man.
E, right? Brooke, like the Brook.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, these are black people. I don't know, except for Tommy was white to me. Tommy was also white in my brain.
Oh no, Tommy was very black to me.
Whoa, really?
Tommy was.
You know what? To be fair, my best friend's name is Tommy, and she is a white woman.
Okay.
And so maybe I just had a Tommy reference already. And so Tommy was white to me.
Okay. Tommy was black to me. Tommy was giving like Misty Copeland.
Hilarious.
Because she kept playing like a little like ballerina.
Yeah.
So I had that.
Also, was she young? Because like
I think she was young.
Yeah. Her parents
Cookie was
stepped in or
definitely
something.
young. Yeah, her parents do they like take a call or something.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, why would her parents
she
do that?
calls her parents and it's like he's gonna marry me. Like, tell your daughter to back off or whatever.
Right. I'm like, why did you call her parents? I'm like, this must be a kid.
Interesting. Yeah.
Weird.
Okay. Last little thing. Would you think this would make a good movie or a TV show? And if so, who are you casting?
Oh, I do think this would make a fantastic movie. I would need it in a movie.
I would need
go
it
ahead
in a
and give
movie.
it 2 hours.
Do not give me 8 episodes.
Don't give me 8 episodes
not.
of this. Don't. Definitely a good movie. Who would I cast? Who could play somebody this messy?
I have 2
My thought goes to the obvious, the super, super obvious in Zendaya.
Okay, that's one of my castings.
Okay.
But here's why. I sort of have a new opinion about Zendaya's acting skills, which is that maybe they're not as great as I thought they were.
Okay.
After seeing Euphoria. I think some of that is because the material she picks is very white male. And so I would like to see her have an opportunity to do a part that is written by a black woman, about a black woman, and not an unraced person, like we were just talking about. And to see, can she do it? Because we know she can do Rue and Euphoria. But my opinion about actors is if you can only do one part great, you are not a great actor. You have to be able to do you have to transform a little bit here and there, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like for her, it's an opportunity. My other pick, who I know could fucking do it and would eat the shit up, is Ruth Negga.
Oh, yeah.
Because
actually,
that bitch can do crazy as fuck. And she is like so unsettling and dynamic and just like, she's small. She's very small and she's a little old for the part. Because I think she's supposed to be like 32 and I think Ruth Negga's probably like in her 40s. But she looks young as fuck and she's little.
She would eat this.
Eat.
Yeah. That's a perfect one. That's a perfect casting. Yeah. And there's a portion of the book where they talk about how she's aging, how Lewis is aging. So I think she'd be good.
Okay. I think a movie too. I would love this movie.
This will be a fun movie. This
would be a
you know
fun
what?
movie.
I don't know if it'd be fun. I would walk away feeling probably profound. If it ends in the same way, I would walk away being like, ooh.
Like Ruth Negga being like, you gave me the freedom to destroy myself by
that would bring it around for me in movie form. Oscar. That would really bring it around for me in movie form, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah. I'm shocked that this actually hasn't been made into a movie. I guess it wasn't not that big when it first came out. It became a cult classic, like grew.
Yeah, it went into obscurity. I mean, it went out of print and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think, this is really its renaissance, if you will.
And she only got $3,000 for it.
Yeah. We didn't talk about the title, but for those of you who are confused, fish is a euphemism for vagina, and tail is like a butt, and also a tale like a story. So I think worked for me.
Coochie Tales.
Yeah. Coochie Tales, the film. Coochie Stories. Okay. Anything else you want to say about this book?
I think that's it. I think I love talking about the book way more than I enjoyed the book. So thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome. I feel like the best book club picks are polarizing and are more fun to talk about sometimes than they are to read. For people who want to talk more about this book, the Stacks Book Club, which is exclusive to my Patreon at patreon.com/thestacks, we will be talking about this book on a virtual book club meetup. So join us. You can talk more. You can share all your thoughts and opinions with a bunch of really smart readers who will have all the answers that Sequoia and I could not come up with for you.
Right.
And for everybody else listening, make sure you listen to the end of this episode to find out what our September book club pick will be. And with that, you can find Sequoia on the internet. I will link to everything in the show notes. She's got a podcast, Black People Love Paramore podcast, and the Freshly Popped podcast. I say the Daily Popped podcast. No,
I mean, it is Daily Pop Culture.
It's a daily pop culture podcast called the Freshly Popped Podcast. Exactly. Boom, shakalaka. But you can find her everywhere. I will link to everything. Sequoia, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you so much, Tracy. This was great.
Yay. And everyone else, we will see you in the stacks. All right, y'all, that does it for us today. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you again to Sequoia Holmes for joining the show. All right, now, the moment you've all been waiting for, our September book club pick. I am thrilled to announce that we will be reading Brother, I'm Dying by Edwidge Danticat. The book was a National Book Award finalist, winner of the National Book Critics Circle Award, and it is a powerful work of nonfiction and memoir that talks about family strength, immigration, through the stories of her beloved father and uncle, as well as her own brother. We will be discussing the book on the podcast on Wednesday, September 30th, and you can tune in next week to find out who our guest will be. If you love The Stacks, if you want inside access to it, head to patreon.com/thestacks to join the Stacks pack and check out my newsletter at tracythomas.substack.com. Make sure you're subscribed to The Stacks wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening through Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a rating and a review. For more from The Stacks, follow us on social media at The Stacks Pod on Instagram, Threads, and YouTube. And you can also check out our website always at thestackspodcast.com. This episode of The Stacks was edited by Christian Duenas with production assistance from Sahara Clement. Additional support provided by Cherie Marquez, and our theme music is from Tigirigis. The Stacks is created and produced by me, Tracy Thomas.